Right, hello guys, welcome back. Today we are doing a quick video on how you can beat the brand new Pantheon Atraks Sovereign and get yourself this brand new awesome emblem, as well as tons of raid loot, including exotic weapons, adept weapons, and even normal weapons, and so on and so on. The amount of loot that you get from Pantheon is honestly insane, so without further ado, let's get into it. So first of all, I want to talk about the modifiers that are active on the activity. So first of all, these are just the rules, and then here we have Void Surge, which is 25% bonus damage to outgoing void damage, and the same for Strand, which means that weapons like Edge Transit are going to be very good here. You have, you know, the god roll of Spike Grenades, Envious Assassin, Bait and Switch, or even if you have one with Cascade Point Bait and Switch, these will be very nice to use because they are obviously Void Burn and they will get that 25% increased damage. Of course, because Strand Surge is on here as well, you can also use Cataphract if you don't have an Edge Transit, but you know, either works fine. Then we have Class Warfare, which is a very interesting new modifier for several reasons, so I'll just let these clips play out, which I hope will explain what this actually does. Right, okay, so I'm here with my awesome friends and we're going to demonstrate how Classy Warfare works. So I'm going to dodge myself, and you see it gives me the 14-second timer on the left of the screen. Then JP, can you please dodge? Now we're up to ×2. Ninja Face, can you please dodge? Okay, now we're up to ×3, and we're going to let it tick down just a bit until we're roughly at 5 seconds. So now we're at 9, 8, 7, 6. Frank, can you dodge, please? Boom. Then it refreshes it to the maximum duration, but it's still at ×3, so ×3 is the cap. So we just discovered that the range is quite large. So if I'm standing here and then I'm looking at my friends Ninja Face and Frank on top of the orb, you can see that it's around 26 meters away. So can one of you dodge, please? There we go. Classy Warfare from that far away, which is pretty insane. And then I'll dodge. And then can one of you confirm whether you got it?
Got it.
Lovely. Okay, there you go. Okay, so with nothing, I hit 10-10 on the thrall. Now everyone dodge near me. Okay, then that is 12-12. So we go from 10-10 to 12-12, which is a 20% damage increase. Yeah, 20%. Okay, so this is just to show that it stacks. So Frank, you place this, and then everybody dodge near me. And then we go for a 15-15 damage number. So that's initially 10-10. And then we go up to 15-15, which if you add everything up, is a 50% damage increase, so that means they stack multiplicatively. So yeah, a very interesting perk. The gist is, do try to preserve at least 3 class ability charges for the damage phase, and use a 4th to extend the buff duration so that you have that 20% damage buff throughout the majority of the damage phase that you're doing. Also, I didn't personally verify this, but I am told that raid mods do not work in this activity. So things like Into the Light and even the King's Fall mods that I can't remember the name of, they are not working in this activity. Okay, so let's go over what's actually changed. Basically, all the changes are quite minor, but they are fun at the same time. So with Golgoroth, the knights that spawn on the bridge sections near towards the back of the arena are now boss level yellow bar knights that can't be finished. They can't be finished, they can't be frozen, they can't be blinded. They aren't that much of a high priority target, but because they are bosses, you can mark them with something like Cenotaph if you need to make ammo for your team if you don't end up one phasing. Furthermore, you also get the occasional mini boss ogre that also spawns at the back of the room, but again, this guy isn't exactly a high priority target because if you have a warlock with sun braces on your team, you're pretty much guaranteed to have that whole back section locked down anyway, so yeah, not a big deal. The biggest change here is that 2 people get the explosive light debuff instead of just the 1, and bear in mind that these players can kill each other, so having them both stand next to each other next to Golgoroth to have them detonate is not a good idea because they will end up killing each other if that's the case. The best strat that we used was to split one person to the left of Golgoroth and another to the right of Golgoroth so they didn't kill each other and everything could go on as normal. Furthermore, the gaze holder is also attacked by some new invisible taken minotaurs that weren't there before. This will just make the job of holding the gaze a little bit harder, so you'll just kind of have to move around a little bit more when you have the gaze, but ultimately it isn't a big deal. We never found that it was a big issue. But if you really are struggling with these minotaurs, you can blind them to sort of save yourself some hassle. Moving on to Caretaker, this fight is the one that has kind of changed the least in my opinion. Basically, throughout the map there will now be taken phalanxes and taken ogres that occasionally spawn, but outside of that there really isn't many huge changes, except when you go into the inside room to collect these symbols, there will be the occasional bee, as people like to call it, the sort of darkness drone. It'll spawn inside the inside rooms, which never happened before. Now this is a little bit of a big deal because if it hits you while you're in there, it will give you stacks of pervading darkness, which if you're slow could mean that you die inside that room before you manage to get out. So just be wary of that bee. You can destroy it, so just bear that in mind. Moving on to Explicator, we now have a few interesting changes. He now spawns his fire tornado right from the beginning rather than at the end of DPS in his final stand, and it ruthlessly follows people around the map. So do be wary of this. It does a lot of damage, so just be aware of where this tornado is on the map so you can avoid avoid it and not die. Biggest change here is that a Tormentor spawns after the index planets are revealed. So what we did is we had someone use Div, which allowed us to kill him very fast, plus he's not a boss, so you can blind, suspend, or freeze him if you need to. My advice is to deal with the Tormentor as quickly as possible because it can become a problem, especially if you just let him roam around. Finally, you also now get the occasional Incendior spawn on the top platforms, which can be a little bit annoying. They can push you around, but again, not a huge deal. Just make sure you kill these when you're running around doing the mechanics. You don't have to prioritize these targets. Finally, for Atraks, the Augment Vandals are now yellow bar boss enemies, which means that they just have a bit more health and could take a little bit more damage. But yeah, again, at the end of the day, they just have more health. Nothing crazy. Again, Bungie is liking this theme of throwing around Tormentors because another one spawns in this encounter now. Crazy. There's a Tormentor down here! Oh, God, just take the pod, just take the pod. Just take the pod, take the pod. Basically, once you kill the servitors on the bottom floor, the sentinel servitors, a Tormentor will spawn on the bottom floor. But what my team did is we actually just completely avoided him because much like normal Atraks, it's incredibly easy to one-floor him should you have enough Titans, but I'll talk more about that later. Also, every time that you go for another DPS window, it spawns another Tormentor. So if you weren't able to one-floor and you had to go downstairs again, it would spawn another Tormentor either upstairs or downstairs, and if you failed to deplete her whole health bar again, it would spawn another Tormentor and so on and so on. So basically, the longer you take, the more Tormentors it spawns, which is kind of really trying to push you for that one floor kill. So yeah, those are most of the changes. Now we're going to talk about how to approach each encounter, or how to best approach each encounter. So mechanically, the encounters are identical. There is no mechanical change. If you guys don't know how to do the encounters themselves, I do have tons of guides on how to do this on the channel already, so you can check those out if you want. So right now, I'm just going to talk about how you would approach the encounters, assuming you already knew how to do them in the first place. So starting with Golgoroth, he is once again much the same as normal, but because of the active Void Surge, using Edge Transit will get you the kill very efficiently. This is exactly what my team did, and we were able to kill him in almost 4 bubbles. Moving on to Caretaker, the best weapons to use are either Parasite or Grand Overture, and you should 2-floor fairly easily. I'll just play the clip so you guys can see. I just saw one go out. Okay, go, Parasite.
Go.
I think mine went through him.
Let's go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Go. Nice. So yeah, that's quite a lot of damage there. If you really optimize it, you could probably go for a 1-floor with Shroud Titans, but just the easiest thing to use is just to make sure everyone has Parasite or Grand Overture, and then use the high burst shot from those weapons as soon as the boss's health threshold is hit. Explicator, again, use Edge Transit, and you should be in for a super easy 2-phase. Just be sure to watch out for the Fire Tornado, as it can catch you off guard, as it did with me quite a few times. Finally, for Atraks, the classic multi-Titan strat works wonders, as you can see here.
3, 2, 1, nade, go.
Okay, nice.
Alright.
Okay. But in general, the best thing to do is to equip your class's best damage super, so either Nova Bomb, Blade Barrage, and of course Thunder Crash plus Parasite for maximum burst damage. If everyone is using those ingredients, it should result in a consistent 1-floor most of the time. If not, it will get you very close. And my advice here for Atraks is to just straight up ignore the Tormentors, because especially when you don't break their shoulders, they move incredibly slowly and they're quite sluggish, so you can basically afford to ignore them and they won't really cause you any trouble. And then finally, for final stand, it's best to swap to Lament, because you won't be able to charge your Parasite stacks much anymore, so just have Lament available and you should be able to 1 or 2 clone the final copy. So yeah, that about does it for the guide on the week 1 Atraks Sovereign Pantheon bosses. In terms of my thoughts, I actually think it's quite a cool activity. I'm really looking forward to what the -20 final version is going to be like, especially if they patch the Riven Cheese, because that will make people have to do Riven legit, which is something that I'm quite excited about. So yeah, we'll have to see what that's like. Loot wise, I'm sure this is fantastic for all the newer players who haven't really got the chance to try raids before, because you actually get so much loot from this activity. The amount of adept weapons that I got, normal weapons, even raid armor as well. You get some raid armor, so you get basically everything from the raids that the encounters are pulled from, and the experience is mostly the same, if not better. Finally, if you complete the quest, you also get the opportunity to guarantee yourself one of the raid exotics, so yeah, it's pretty good for that loot aspect, and I do believe it is farmable, though I'm not sure about that. I'll have to have someone in the comments verify that, or have to do multiple runs myself. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Your support means the world. And if you're really into the content I create, consider becoming a member of the channel, which not only lets you support me in the best way possible, it also nets you a whole host of awesome perks along with it. A massive shout out to these members up on screen, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now, dear viewer.